You are live. All right. It is Friday, June 5th, 2026. We are only going to get one of these. So get busy living or get busy dying. One of my coworkers actually made that comment the other day, and I was like, where's that? Where's that from? It's like Shawshank. Like Shawshank? I've seen Shawshank like 20 times. I don't remember it saying, get busy living, get busy dying, but I'm trying to remember. I'm guessing it was Morgan Freeman. I wanted to look it up, but I got to do the Shoy show. I got to work a full-time job. Maybe if I could do the Shoy show full-time, maybe then I could have enough time to Google movie quotes. I kid. All right. NVIDIA just released an N1X chip. They're also calling it the RTX chip. And Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, is pitching it as one of the biggest changes to personal computers in years. So this is like huge technology. Awesome. We love technology. We love progression. We love innovation. Closer and closer, we are going to get to this Blade Runner 2049 world. Now, the stock market fell today. Damn, semiconductors got hit. What? Semiconductors dropped like crazy, but that's besides the point. NVIDIA stock also fell. I bought a little of it, but just buy indexes, you'll be fine. The simplest explanation of what this chip does is NVIDIA is trying to bring AI power computing directly into the laptop so that the work gets done in the laptop versus in the data center, so that you don't have to actually send your request out to data centers. I'm not sure how exactly this is going to happen, but they're saying that you won't be forced to constantly rely on cloud servers. Very interesting. Take a look at the video that he introduced. These two laptops, these are two games that he has up here on screen, and they look as crisp as anything. If you're a gamer, I used to be, you would appreciate this.
Of course, I got to show you the most beautiful part, which is video games. It's also the closest to our heart. This is Forza. This is 007, by the way. The new 007 game, I'm looking forward to playing it. I look a little bit like him. Ladies and gentlemen, NVIDIA's RTX Spark laptops. Now, thank you. I have too many things in my pocket. 太多东西了. Okay, all right. This is the most amazing chip the world's ever built. This is the N1X that we built in partnership with MediaTek. I think I saw Rick earlier. This is N1X. This is a beautiful chip.
And that's this chip right here. So again, what does this chip do? Right now, when we use AI tools, when we use prompts like ChatGPT, any of the LLMs, we create images, whatever it is, the requests are being sent to a data center, a server farm, a cloud provider. Your question leaves the machine, it gets processed somewhere else, and then your answer comes back. Now that happens in a few seconds, if not milliseconds. NVIDIA wants more of that work happening directly on the device, and they're making a huge claim here. The company says that N1X can deliver roughly 1 petaflop of AI performance right on a laptop. Now, we don't know what the hell that means, of course, but the technical number doesn't matter. The practical question is, what can I do with it? According to NVIDIA, the answer is faster AI assistance, faster image generation, faster video editing, and more powerful local AI models running directly on the computer. So less waiting, no cloud connection, no sending sensitive information somewhere else. It can all be done on your laptop. So if you have any privacy concerns, this one checks the box. So if AI actually runs directly on your laptop, how much data are people willing to keep local instead of sending to the cloud? Now let's talk gaming. NVIDIA says these systems use unified memory, which means the processor and graphics system can access the same pool of memory. This means fewer bottlenecks, higher frame rates, more consistent performance. The company is talking about AAA games, so your highest level of compute for gaming, above 100 frames per second at 1440p resolution on machines that are remarkably thin. So you might think that you have to have like some huge tower under your desk. That's not going to happen. We're going to have laptops powerful enough that most people will no longer need a desktop computer if you don't have one. But if you really want like great performance, you're not going to get that in a laptop. Maybe a $5,000 laptop, you could build one out, but usually people will have, you know, an expensive workstation under their desk. That goes away just with this little chip. They're trying to put the performance into a machine that's barely over half an inch thick. The third piece of the story may actually be the most important: battery life. So for years, Apple, in which they've been competing with, they've dominated the premium laptop market because its M series chips offered strong performance without destroying battery life. Windows manufacturers have struggled to match that combination. NVIDIA appears to be trying to change that. They actually partnered with Microsoft on this, and the goal is Apple-style efficiency combined with NVIDIA-level graphics performance. And if they pull that off, it's a very big deal. Now, these machines are going to be coming out this fall in 2026. And they're going to be in Asus, Dell, Lenovo, Microsoft machines, and they're probably going to cost starting $3,000. It's definitely a serious purchase, but this is like the future of computing. So we're actually going to rely less on data centers. So when we think about the build out that we're going to need for all of the AI compute, we're going to now be putting it in our machines. This is what I'm talking about. Like, this is huge technology here. And if he's right, then all of these laptops will have dedicated AI hardware. And if he's wrong, people may decide that they don't need all that power sitting on their desk. I mean, we'll see what happens here, right? But if you're following the stock market and you're following trends in the AI thesis, who knows what we'll be buying 5 years from now. But if NVIDIA is creating this super chip, which puts all of the compute essentially in that one chip. I mean, you have a CPU, a graphics card, RAM, all on that one chip. I mean, this is incredible, right? So this is really going to change the game for computing. I'm interested to see it. I actually might buy one of these laptops because I just want to see how fast it is. And yeah, they'll be competing directly with Apple. This does look like the future of personal computing. All right, let's get into the next topic. So we're calling this, you know, Israel, the blank check question and the final map. I mean, I could literally go through X or TikTok, any one of these, you know, apps, and I could find a ton of videos of just inhumane treatment of Palestinians and just people all around the world. But specifically on Israel, you'll see the IDF just committing heinous crimes. And the world and the public, I would say, is privy to it, which is a good thing, right? We don't believe any of the propaganda that's coming out of Israel unless you're pro-Israeli. Now, one of the most interesting arguments that I tend to have with friends is the idea that Israel is a necessary evil, right? I think most people in the world, I would say 95% of the world is against Israel. I'm just going to throw a number out there, right? I don't have anything, you know, backing that in the form of statistics. We always come to the show prepared with numbers and everything, but I would just think that the state of public opinion is completely against Israel. I don't think anybody's being fooled by Israel coming out and saying, hey, you know, the Gazans, the Palestinians, they're criminals, their children hold guns and they try to kill us, and you know, they're the ones that are accosting us, they're the ones that are undermining our way to live. I don't think anybody believes that narrative. Now, the argument here is our foreign policy embedded in the idea that Israel is strategically indispensable? And I find this really interesting because the argument is pretty straightforward, right? Israel is America's strongest ally in the Middle East. They share intelligence with us. They counter Iranian influence. If you think Iran is actually an enemy and villain here, And they operate in a region where the United States has enormous strategic interest, right? The Middle East is not just the most fought over piece of land historically. It's actually geographically and centrally located and centrally strategic, right? So supporters of this view would argue that Israel isn't simply another ally. They are a frontline ally. So let's start there, right? If Israel is a frontline ally, what does that actually mean? Does it mean that we should be providing them military support? We do. We give them weapons. Does it mean that we should provide them diplomatic support? Absolutely. We have a whole bunch of people in the cabinet and in Congress which support Israel. You can see plenty of videos online, people of citizens, US citizens, asking our politicians to denounce what they are doing in Gaza, West Bank, and they refuse to answer. Does it mean political support overall? Absolutely. We pass laws. We pass laws that enable Israel to do what they do, providing them weapons, providing them money, which goes into the next question. What type of support are we giving them? Across the board, the United States is aligned with Israel. So the question we come back to is, at what point does strategic necessity become a blank check? So would we allow them to do pretty much anything? They kind of are, right? They have carte blanche in that region. Now, of course, an ally can be valuable, but an ally can still be questioned, right? We could support Israel. We don't have to be anti-Israel. It's just, what is Israel doing? And we have to question their actions, right? We are watching a genocide. Why are we allowing it? An ally can be indispensable. You can believe that having Israel in our corner is essential and as an existential matter for the United States. Again, it is entrenched in our foreign policy. Maybe it's that significant. That makes sense to me. Okay, I'll accept the argument here for argument's sake. But an ally can still face limits, right? I mean, the United States, President Trump just added additional, I think, 10% tariffs to 60 different countries because of forced trade labor practices. Now, maybe that's just an excuse. Most of the things coming out of our administration, we have to take with a grain of salt. But if you are adding tariffs, which are punitive, right? If you are sticking new levies on these countries, why are you doing it? But if you say that it's forced labor practices, that means you are penalizing those countries because their laws, their morals, their values do not coincide with ours. So what say you to Israel? Because if Israel is committing a genocide, why are we still supporting them militarily, financially? I mean, to me, it's just not enough for us to sit there and just say, yeah, we support Israel. We have to challenge the status quo. And again, if you believe the idea that 95% of the world isn't aligned with Israel's interests, maybe not interests, but because, again, this is the premise, right? Is Israel the necessary evil? Maybe it is in all of our best interest to have Israel be the bully. That's what Israel wants you to think. And I'm going along with that, right? If you believe in big stick diplomacy, right? That comes from Teddy Roosevelt. If you believe in that big stick diplomacy, we have to go out there and we have to punish our foes. We have to take what's needed. We have to make sure that we have the resources, right? If you believe that the bully on stage essentially propels us forward, there are people in that camp. There are many people in that camp. I would think our entire administration today believes in that. Hey, if we want something, take it. If somebody doesn't cooperate, punish them. I mean, what are we doing with Cuba and Venezuela? That's precisely what we're doing now. So there are people in that camp, and that's why we do have to kind of get into semantics here, because we have to understand that, and I'm not patronizing anyone. I'm not speaking to anyone here, right? I'm just, stating there is a very real argument there that Israel has to be the necessary evil, because without Israel, the world would be a much bleaker place. Okay. I don't agree with that at all, right? It's a genocide. They need to stop. I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with big stick diplomacy. I don't agree with us going to war and being as capricious as we are. I don't believe in bypassing our constitution and our laws. There's a lot of problems that we have in this country, and we definitely can improve. And I think most people are awake to those ideas. Now, if you believe that Israel being there and Israel acting in the way that it does, as far as their foreign policy is concerned, if you believe that they are serving the world's interests, right? Because what is our president actually saying right now? Our president is actually saying Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If Iran has a nuclear weapon, this world is going to end. World War III will start. That's what's being fed. I'm not making that up. That's literally coming out of the White House. So let's just put that aside here, right? And again, I believe most people are against this idea, myself included, that Israel serves the global interest, not the national interest in the United States. They serve the global interest because they are there to act as the deterrent from anyone else attacking internationally, right? So let's say Iran, if we were not opposing Iran, then Iran would gain nuclear material, and then maybe they could take over the world, right? That if we actually go down, if we take this to as far as we possibly can, that's where the argument would go, right? If we stretch the argument here. So let's say we do need them. We can still impose limits, can't we? Like bombing incessantly, like destroying a school in Iran, like going into Lebanon, like going into Jordan, going into Syria. We can control what the foreign policy is. So I'm just saying, let's say you do agree that we need, it's in the global interest, not just the United States, but let's say you agree, or even the United States for that matter, let's say you agree that it is in the global interest to have Israel there as a formidable nation, ally in this case, to make sure that they deter any threats in the region, right? The Middle East is an extremely important place geographically on this earth. Why can't there still be some checks and balances is what I'm saying. So even if you believe that, right? I think 95% of the world does not agree with what Israel is doing. But even if you do believe that Israel is the necessary evil in that region, which is the premise of this topic, why can't we check them? Why can't we go to their politicians and say, hey, you're going too far? October 7th, 2023, they killed 1,500 of your people and kidnapped people. Atrocities, right? War is atrocious. Okay, you came back and you retaliated with a genocide. Where is the spine of our leadership in the United States, especially in the United States, because we're in the United States now? Where's our spine? If I'm a leader, if I'm a political leader, I have to challenge this. I have to say, what is going on? No more support. We cannot support this. Yes, we can support Israel, but we can't support this, right? And that's what I'm questioning here, right? I don't understand why, even if you want to be Israel's ally, why can't you just hold them accountable? The world sees that what they're doing is abhorrently wrong. It's not even close to being justified. But the fact that we allow it to go on, I mean, that's complicit, is it not? We are watching people be raped and murdered, people being starved to death, people collecting flour off the ground, people being given the little water rations that they have contaminated with filth and bacteria? Why do we accept that? So it's like, even if you support Israel, it's like, why would you accept that? You accept that? You like seeing children, and forget, it's not even just children, but like, you like seeing people drink dirty water? You like seeing people starve to death? I don't understand. And I believe that the global populace is against Israel. But for the people that are for Israel, I don't understand why we can't check their power. And this enters the next the next point, which is rather significant here, which is, what's to stop them from doing anything else? I mean, at this point, if we haven't checked them on a genocide, then eventually it's going to lead into more settlements, more territory, and longer term control. Because where there's smoke, there is fire. And at this point, Israel doesn't look like they'll relent in any way. So what is the future map going to look like? Is it going to look like the Greater Israel Project that they've been calling for so many years? That's worrisome. Who wants to see this? Now you're invading the entire, that's not even a region anymore. That's like a freaking continent. And there are, many Israelis, there are many people that actually believe that they are entitled to this land. Now you might think this is audacious. It certainly is. But how far are they willing to go? Because if we're willing to accept a genocide, how on earth they're already taking land. They control Gaza. They control the West Bank. 70% of Israel is Jewish. 20% is Arab. There are millions of Arabs. There are 500 million Arabs in the world. Are you going to push everyone out? I don't understand this type of conquest, but what I do understand is that it is going to be achievable. If US politicians, if the leaders of the world do not step up to check this country on their power, then eventually, yes, it is a slippery slope. We can extend the idea to this. This can become a reality. I'm saying, where does it stop? Look at where the settlements exist today. Look at where they existed 20 years ago. Look at the roads, the security zones. Look at all of the areas under different forms of control. Then ask yourself, what is the final map supposed to look like? Because every strategy has an objective. Every policy has an end state. I mean, where is this headed? Are we going to get a two-state solution? Is this going to be a one-state solution? I mean, I would think that ultimately there's going to be permanent Israeli control over parts, if not all of the West Bank and Gaza. Who's going to stop them? The Palestinians have nothing. They literally have nothing. I mean, they don't have nothing. They have courage, and they have soul, and they have hearts, and they have perseverance. And those are not just words. Those people are living through a nightmare. But when we're talking about strategically, militarily, what do the Palestinians have? And I'm asking this question because it is rhetorical in the sense that the only people that can actually step up for Palestinians are the rest of the world. It isn't Palestinians. They just don't have the wherewithal. They don't have the resources. And of course, we have to talk to the leaders here. This isn't ideology anymore. They are taking over land. And who's to stop them if the US continues to back them with weapons, with money, diplomatically, and laws? Some people hear the idea of a greater Israel and think it's nonsense. But clearly, it is unfolding right before our eyes. It's not important what people call it. It is happening. People are being kicked out of their own land, kicked out of where they want to live, and they are being governed by a new society. It's the same thing. It is the same thing between Russia and the Ukraine. They are literally forcing these people to churn in their Ukrainian passports and giving them new Russian passports, new Russian documentation. And the most dangerous part here is that if the map continues changing decade after decade, eventually people are going to ask, what was it like before? And then at that point, they not only have won, but what have we done? What have we done for our brothers and sisters? Our Palestinian brothers and sisters. What have we done here? Did we stand up when we saw human rights being violated? Did we stand up for our fellow neighbors? Yes, they may be thousands of miles away. But if Israel is truly, and this is the crux of it, if Israel is truly America's closest ally, why is it that we can't push them to do things in a more humane way? Why is it that our moral values don't reflect on theirs? If we're truly moving together hand in hand, and if we are diverging here, meaning that we're going at two complete polar opposite directions as far as moving forward with our foreign policy, then why would we want anything to do with them? So then, are they the necessary evil? Or are we? I mean, all signs point back to the United States. You can make this argument, and you can make a fairly substantial one, that if there is no United States backing Israel, there is no Israel. The region would probably collapse from beneath them. I'm sure all of the Arab nations around Israel would be a lot more emboldened if they knew that the US stopped supporting Israel. The good thing, of course, is that the world sees this. The world does not agree with their actions. And if Israel was not one of America's closest allies, these conversations would look different. Settlement expansion would probably not exist. There would probably be no territorial dispute. Because who would they have backing them? And of course, this is worth asking, because at what point does strategic necessity, does strategic ally become a blank check? Is this the blank check that we're willing to give Israel? This right here, greater Israel? Hey, we're not going to do anything. Take over the West Bank. We're not going to do anything. Take over Gaza. Kill them. Doesn't matter. Genocide. I mean, we've been letting a genocide go on for 3 years now. 3 years. I mean, you could literally open up any one of your any social media site, and you could see crimes being committed daily by the IDF. So I'm saying that the idea of Israel as a necessary evil, I can understand it. I don't agree with it, but I can understand it, right? I'm just trying to look at it little, not even playing devil's advocate. I'm just trying to understand, right? Clearly, that has to be our position politically. The U.S. disposition on foreign policy when it comes to Israel is that they are our ally. So I'm calling them the necessary evil. I'm going to accept it for a second, just to try to rationalize this. Okay. You are saying that we need to have Israel in the region for a million reasons. It protects our national security. Okay, fine. I'll accept that argument for the sake of this argument. For the sake of conversation. Okay. Why can't we hold them accountable? Why can't we check them and make sure that they're doing and going about their policy in a humane way? Because if we don't do that, then we are giving them a blank check. And I think that the focus should then be not where the map is today, but where it's heading to tomorrow. All right, next topic. Markwayne Mullin, what? He's got a nice name, I think. I mean, if you like that name. You don't like Markwayne Mullin's name? Whatever. You don't have to like his name, okay? You can just call him. You don't like his name? Don't like his name. It's fine. It's Mark Wayne. Mr. Mullin, you can call him Mr. Mullin. You can call him Mark. You can call him Mark Wayne. You can call him Marky. You can call him Marky Mark. You can call him Department of Homeland Secretary. You can call him DHS Secretary. But what's most important is something that should concern all of us, because this is it right here in your face. And we've seen it time and time again, but we have to call it out. Because during his latest Senate hearing, Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin was asked what should have been a fairly straightforward question. If a federal court issues an order, will your department follow it? Did we hear that correctly? Hey, if our courts, if our bureau, if our country constitution issues you an order, will you follow it? The court, right? Guys, like this, that's why we have 3 branches, right? I learned that in the 5th grade. The judicial, legislative, and executive branch. And that's why we have checks and balances. Where are our checks and balances? These have ceased to exist. Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, this is from a federal court decision regarding ICE's activities in Minnesota. ICE is not a law unto itself. ICE has violated nearly 100 court orders. This list should give pause to anyone, no matter his or her political beliefs, who cares about the rule of law. ICE has likely violated more court orders in January 2026 than some federal agencies have violated in their entire existence. That's not a Democratic appointed judge. That is a Republican appointed judge describing the scale of illegality. I understand your MO and others in the administration's MO is to attack us personally or to claim that we're inciting violence when we point out the widespread illegality. But this is a Republican appointed judge who is saying the exact same thing that I am saying. This is a really important discussion for us to have, because this is, whether you want to believe it or not, at the root of our disagreement, is that it is very hard for us to figure out how to fund an agency that is violating the law. Again, that's not me saying it. That's a Republican appointed federal judge. Now, this widespread violation of court orders admittedly largely happened before you got on the job. And as a senator, you always struck me as somebody who cared about the rule of law. And so maybe the easiest question is this. When DHS gets a court order telling them that something they are doing is either illegal and unconstitutional, prior to you taking office, the approach was to ignore that court order. That's what the judge is saying. 94 times you got a court order, you didn't implement it. Now that you are on the job, can you commit to us that if a court judges something ICE is doing, something DHS is doing as illegal and unconstitutional, tells you to stop, that you will comply with the court order?
Ranking Member Murphy, I will tell you that we will never break the Constitution, and we're not going to break the law, but we're going to enforce our nation's laws. And we're going to enforce the laws that you guys passed and that we implement. We will never go outside that. And if we do, we'll hold each other accountable for that.
But that doesn't sound like the same thing.
Okay, so that honestly, that should have been the answer. I don't know why he didn't just say yes. He said they will follow the Constitution and enforce any laws that they pass. You see how he walked around it though, right? Yeah, he knows what he's doing here. He walked around the subject and he did not agree to follow court orders. But what are court orders? Because I'm actually confused now, right? Because a court order is part of our Constitution. We have to follow the laws, and the courts are there to help us deliberate and reach a decision. So if a court order comes out and says, hey, don't deport this guy, or hey, you guys have to leave the state, then you have to follow that court order, right? Because what happens if you don't follow the court order? You should face a penalty for it, whether it's fines or going to jail. That's what happens to a normal, ordinary citizen. Why is that not happening to our officials? I don't understand how they are not being held to the same standard. And this is very serious. It is so important when we get to Capitol Hill, because they are being sworn in and they can perjure themselves. Yes, some of them lie, unfortunately, but this is why we have our Congress, because we should be allowed to ask questions.
As committing that you will obey a court order. Obviously, the entire structure of the federal government gives the power to the federal courts to divine whether you are obeying the law or not. I mean, I think it's an easy thing to say. Will you not implement court orders?
If we didn't think courts were politicized, then I would probably be able to answer that. But we see courts over and over again that use their bench for their political opinion, not just the rule of law. And we can see that because we see how many times
choose which court orders you obey based upon whether you believe that
what I said
to be
politically. Don't put words in my mouth.
That's what are you saying, man?
What I'm saying is we'll enforce the law. We're never going to break the Constitution.
I'm so confused. I'm so confused. Man, our government is so confusing. And listen, I love watching these videos because you see Kash Patel, you saw his predecessor, Mark Wayne Mellon, you saw him, like Kristi Noem. She just would not answer any questions. Pam Bondi, the attorney general, former attorney general, she would, I don't understand why they can't just answer questions simply. Yes, we will follow the law. So if a court order comes out and says do X, you have to do X, because if you don't do X, you should be going to prison, right? If I don't do X, they're going to put a freaking warrant out on my name, right? If I'm caught driving with a warrant, I'm going to prison. I don't understand. I just don't understand. I don't understand how our leaders cannot be held to the letter of the law. It's like, honestly, I'm 36 years old. Like, my mind is spinning on this because I'm like, damn, I was like, what? Is this how the system works? I'm literally thinking, like, having flashbacks to when I was like 13, in high school. And I was like, what the, like, isn't it, how did the system work here? I'm so confused as to how the Department of Homeland Security secretary could sit there on Capitol Hill and avoid the question of following the law if he's asked to do so.
You just said that you will not follow every court order because you
No, Chris, Senator, don't start putting words in my mouth. That's not what I said. I said I will never break the Constitution. We're going to enforce the law.
Will you implement court orders when they tell you to stop?
You're making an assumption on court orders I haven't
Will you or
seen.
will you not?
I'm going to enforce the law, and I'll never break the Constitution.
I think, listen, if you're a Republican or a Democrat on this committee, you should be really, really freaked out.
We should be really concerned about the rulings that come out of the courts and how often they get
Our federal
overturned.
system falls apart if you are telling me that
They fall apart when you have a judge that makes a political opinion from a bench, and they're outside the law too. Not all judges are above the law, but sometimes they think they are. That's why we see lower courts get overturned by higher courts constantly.
Let me ask you about what's happening in Delaney.
I mean, the problem is that they find a way, and Trump does this all the time. They find a way to circumvent everything to be in their favor. I mean, this is one of the most powerful law enforcement and national security positions in the federal government. How can this guy answer questions like this? He's literally not answering the question, which means that he won't. And by the way, the Trump administration, I think over hundreds of times, they have not followed court orders. Who is being held accountable? I thought we had checks and balances for this. It's so confusing. I mean, how can you even teach a child the structure of our own government when we actually don't heed to our own policies and procedures? And who gets away with this? Why does he get away with this? You know why? Because of his political and positional power. He's not going to get arrested. He's not going to get reprimanded for this. He's saying that courts have become politicized. What does that matter to you? You still have to follow a court order. It doesn't matter what it is. That's where it's being discussed and deliberated on. You don't have a right in our government. We are electing you. This is a representative democracy. We are electing you. Of course, we did not elect him, but we are electing our congresspeople that then elect these appointees, put them in these positions, these various cabinet positions. They confirm them. So by proxy, they are representing us, our national interests. That's how it works in this country. I don't understand what the politicization of a court has to do with you following the law. That is the law. Now, let's be frank here. A lot of Americans think courts are political. They think judges have agendas. Judges are human. They're not perfect. And that many of them may overreach. Oh, by the way, we've seen many cases over the years, historically, of judges that were just outright corrupt. One of the cases that comes to mind here, in my mind, is back in Pennsylvania, I don't know, about 10 years ago, there was someone convicted and he was actually invested in a prison system. He was being paid to put people into the system, to put people, give them sentences. And many of the people that he gave sentences to, and they were harsh, were juveniles. So he's putting kids in prison. He's putting our children, not people's children, our children, he was putting into the system because it was benefiting him. And I don't know what the hell happened to him. Maybe he got 10 years in prison. Who gives a shit? I don't even think they put him in prison for life, which usually doesn't happen in this country, right? It's never really an eye for an eye here. The punishment doesn't always fit the crime. I don't want to hurt people, but this guy ruined lives. He ruined not only those people's lives that he put in prison, he ruined families. He literally took a piece out of society by doing that. But we don't look at it that way. We give him whatever sentence it is, right? I don't know, 20 years or something, whatever the hell he got. Is that enough? The Department of Homeland Security, the secretary, the highest post, this man is refusing to follow court orders. He's saying outright, I will not follow court orders. No, they are politicized. Therefore, if I you know what you're really saying, right? You're just giving yourself an out. He's smart. He knows what he's doing. It's right out of Trump's playbook. If I don't agree, I'm not following shit. And I'm certainly not going to sit here being sworn in on Capitol Hill to say that I will follow the court order. But who decides that? Who decides when a court is too political to obey? The president? Is it the cabinet secretary? Does each agency get to say what they want about the law? It doesn't work like that in this country. And to me, the realest way to put this in perspective is if I go out there and I break the law, or if I were to do something like this, I'd be arrested. Let's not mince words here, right? Like I would be arrested. I don't understand how our political leaders can get away with all this. I understand how. It's because of their positional power, but is that right? Is it just? Is that who we want serving on behalf of our national interests, especially in the position of national security? I mean, because once government officials start deciding which court orders count and which ones don't, we're no longer arguing about the policy. We're arguing about the rules of the game itself because we can't enforce anything to make sure that they follow the laws that we passed. When we see people being treated differently, right? If I go up to a hot dog vendor and he just charged the guy before me $2 and now he's charging me $3, it's just $1. But if I know that to be the case, I'm going to feel like I've been wrongfully treated, right? So now let's take this to a much more serious case, much more serious arena. If I don't follow a court order, if there is a judgment against me and I don't follow it, if I don't pay what I have to, show up when I have to, whatever it is, guess what? They're going to come after me. They're going to potentially arrest me. They're going to put a warrant out for my arrest, and then I have no choice. So you're telling me that the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, which is in charge of 350 million people's safety and security, he's not held to the same laws? Isn't every American? Now, he is one of Trump's strongest allies in Washington. He's defended Trump's immigration policies, defended Trump's executive authority, and is generally viewed as a loyal supporter of the administration. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. It depends on where you stand on the matter. But when a loyalist is asked whether courts must be obeyed, and he doesn't answer, I mean, again, where are the checks and balances? You kind of have to question if we have to throw the whole entire system into disarray. I mean, do we actually have a government if people aren't following the rules? Congress is supposed to check the executive branch. The courts check the executive branch. The executive branch checks Congress. But nobody is supposed to get the final word all by themselves. Again, I learned this when I was an adolescent. That's how it was explained to me. This isn't about people disagreeing. The system was designed for disagreement. The question is whether everybody still agrees to follow the rules when they lose. And to me, this is a travesty because it's all of our country. We all agree to the Constitution. If we don't follow the rules, do you know what happens? We face a penalty for it. At least the average American citizen does. So to say that these leaders should be held to a higher standard, or at the very least, the same standard, to me, is not a stretch. It's not even about fairness at this point. The deeper issue is if they can just completely ignore what the courts are telling them, what else are they willing to do to bolster or support or defend national security interests? Who knows what's going on in these jails? Who knows how they're treating immigrants? I mean, Mark Wayne Mullen. He was threatening to pull funding from sanctuary cities like New York City or LA if they didn't follow immigration policies. So what exactly are you saying? I'm sorry. I'm looking at this conundrum that we're in here because we don't know what the hell you're talking about, right? You're saying on one hand that we should be following some type of policy that is a byproduct of our Constitution, is it not? On the other end, you're saying that you yourself will not follow court orders. Call it hypocrisy, call it a paradox, call it a walking, talking contradiction. That is what it is. And it's honestly, you know how people say like it's an embarrassment, sometimes how Trump speaks, you know, just on X or whatever, on a daily basis. This is truly an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment when we take late night hosts off television and we completely dismantle our freedom of speech. It is an embarrassment. This is an affront to our great nation. It really is. Because I know that when I step out there, even in my own house, I better follow the damn rules or there's going to be hell to pay. I am going to lose my freedoms if I don't. But the people that we elect don't have to follow that same code. It's not only not fair, it's discrediting and, to me, deteriorating the entire system. All right, next topic, Bill Pulte. Bill Pulte, good old Bill. Good old William. William. Don't you like a good old William? Depends if William's nice to you, right? Bill Pulte. President Trump has selected Bill Pulte to serve as acting director of national intelligence. And most Americans probably had the same reaction. Who's Bill Pulte? Who is he? Sounds like poultry, like a nice big chicken. Now, Pulte currently runs the Federal Housing Finance Agency. Housing, mortgages, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, that's his world. The DNI's world, Department of National Intelligence, that's completely different. The DNI oversees and coordinates intelligence gathered by roughly 18 intelligence agencies: CIA, NSA, military intelligence, foreign threats, cybersecurity, espionage, China, Russia, terrorism, name it all. They get all of the information and then they disseminate it. So the first question is obvious. What qualifies someone with no intelligence background to oversee America's intelligence community? Because Pulte isn't coming from the CIA. He's not coming from military intelligence. He's not coming from the intelligence world at all. Now, some people will say, well, you know, that management experience is management experience. If you're a good manager, you can manage anything. I mean, hell. Secretary of War, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, he comes from Fox News. President Trump had no experience, so I guess the game has changed.
Washington, where Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche has just confirmed that a controversial $1.8 billion payout fund for Trump allies has now been totally canceled. In the meantime, there's new controversy over the president's decision to name a close ally as acting director of national intelligence. Weisha Zhang is at the White House with the latest on this. Weisha, good morning to you. What's the issue?
Good morning, Gail. Good morning to everybody. Well, President Trump passed over other high-ranking intelligence officials and appointed Bill Pulte, the head of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, to also be the acting director of national intelligence. When we asked the White House about why Pulte was picked for the role, they only said he would do a great job.
President Trump named Bill Pulte to oversee 18 intelligence agencies and organizations, touting his, quote, deep experience managing the most sensitive matters in America. But even some Republicans were quick to point out those sensitive matters don't include national security.
No evidence of any qualifications for that job.
The Director of National Intelligence position was created after 9/11 to coordinate communication for the intelligence community. Pulte currently runs an agency that regulates home loans.
I don't know if any national security clearance he has.
Dr. Mehmet Oz, who led Tuesday's White House press briefing,
Good afternoon, everybody.
said he didn't know anything about Pulte's situation, but added,
I do trust the president's judgment. He is a very sharp and quick study of people.
Pulte also earned the president's praise.
Yeah. He's a Trump loyalist, and that's why he likes Bill Pulte. That's why. Okay? Let's not the only reason why Bill Pulte's getting this job is because Trump loves his loyalty. He wants people that believe in his agenda and are in his camp, are in his corner. And that's what most people would want. Now, of course, management experience is not management experience. It depends where you are. I was actually arguing with one of my friends the other day, and I was wrong. I had to Google this, but he was asking why the New York Mets, our favorite team in baseball, why won't we hire someone with actual baseball experience? Because a few of the latest managers that we had, including the current one, never played the game. And I said, well, that's not that important. And he said, yeah, man, it is, because if you don't play the game, it's not that you can't win a championship, but you're less successful. So then we did some Googling, and you know what we realized? That only 7% of managers to ever manage in Major League Baseball actually won the World Series. 7% that never played baseball won the World Series. I mean, that number is shocking. So you're telling me that 93% of the managers that ever won a championship in the major leagues had baseball experience? Well, what does that tell you, baseball owners? You should hire people that have baseball experience, real playing baseball experience. That's what that means to me. We're hiring someone to be the director of national intelligence, and he has zero experience. You couldn't find anyone else? Of course he could have. There were plenty of candidates. There's 350 million people in this damn country. We can't find someone? But no, he wants a loyalist. So maybe you say a large bureaucracy is a large bureaucracy. Maybe leadership matters more than subject matter expertise. But he's coming from the Federal Housing Finance Agency so that we could make sure that we can get mortgages and homes in this country. And now he's going to be the director of national intelligence. Like, are you kidding me? He's going to get information from the FBI, the CIA, NSA. What's going on over here? This is all about loyalty. Pulte has built his reputation as a strong Trump ally, and he's being rewarded for it. During his time at the Federal Housing Finance Agency, he launched highly publicized inquiries involving Adam Schiff, Letitia James, and Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, which are all enemies of Donald Trump. Of course, people will say this is accountability. No, he's a fierce Trump supporter. He will do whatever the president asks of him. This was all political warfare. You know why they were trying to get Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook to leave her post? Because she said that her second mortgage was her primary home. Yeah, you can Google it. I mean, are you kidding me? How many people have done that? How many people have said that? That's like saying you don't lie on your taxes. I mean, come on. Everybody finagles, or you don't lie on your resume. Everybody finagles a little bit, finagle a bagel. You got to finagle a bagel a little. But intelligence agencies are supposed to be trusted regardless of who occupies the White House. Right? I mean, that's what I learned. I learned that this is a country of integrity and honesty and truth. Didn't George Washington say, "I'll never tell a lie"? What happened to us? What are we doing here? Is it a meritocracy or not? Are we trying to put the best people in these positions or not? Shit, if I'm trying to fly to space, I'm going to hire the best damn scientists. If I'm trying to build an application, I'm going to hire the best damn engineers that I could find. And if I'm going to hire the director of national intelligence, put your president hat on. Any one of us can be president. You're the president of your own house. You manage your own affairs. Do not tell me that you are not a leader in your own right. You absolutely are. You are capable of doing anything that you see any one of these Congress people do. So put your hat on. Who the hell do you want the director of national intelligence to be? Oh, I don't know. Maybe someone that served in the military at least. Maybe someone that was in the FBI, someone that was in the NSA, someone that was in the CIA, and whom they are going to engage with on a recurring basis. I mean, come on. No, I'm going to just go hire my friend because, he's going to listen to me and he's going to give me all the dirt on the country. Now, here's another big issue. He's serving as acting DNI, acting Director of National Intelligence. And that's important because acting appointments can temporarily bypass Senate confirmation. Now, of course, what do Senate hearings do? Senators ask questions, qualifications get challenged, backgrounds get examined, conflicts come into the fore. So then the public gets to learn who these people are. We get to question, hey, Bill Pulte, what is it that you do? What is your resume? And we're going to check all that because your lies can only go so far. But if someone is serving in an acting capacity, much of that scrutiny can be delayed. So now we have to look at President Trump's strategy once again. Are acting appointments becoming a way for presidents to place people into powerful positions without going through the full confirmation process? And the answer is yes. He does this all the time. This story is bigger than Bill Pulte. This story is about whether expertise matters or if loyalty usurps that. Should America's intelligence agencies be led by independent professionals or trusted political allies? Could it be a little bit of a combination of both? Yeah, you're going to have people on your team. If you watch any sport in the world, once a head coach gets hired, he or she is going to bring in their own people. Nobody's arguing that. I got no problem with that. Do your thing. But if you are so much a loyalist that you aren't even questioning the hierarchy, you're not even questioning what your boss is saying, even if your boss is telling you to do something unethical, have you completely forgot who you serve? You serve the interest of the American people. You serve nothing and no one else. So you can be the biggest loyalist. You can be President Trump's pet project. You are doing a disservice to our country if you don't do your job with integrity. And again, I just don't know why you would put someone in a position like this, something so critical, with someone that has no experience whatsoever, other than him being a loyalist. All right, next topic. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's about to get fun in here. Oh, yeah, it's about to get fun in here. It's my shit. Project 2025. You guys remember this? You guys remember Project 2025? Yeah. Project 2025, officially known as the Mandate for Leadership. It was a comprehensive conservative policy blueprint published by the Heritage Foundation and a coalition of over 100 partner organizations. It was designed to reshape the American executive branch. It serves as a roadmap for radical restructuring of the federal government, advancing policies across immigration, education, the environment, and social services. Yay, America! It was a 900-plus page plan. It spoke about things like executive expansion, bringing independent agencies under direct presidential control. Does that sound familiar? Such as the Department of Justice and FBI. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. The DOJ and the FBI are political weapons. Who owns them? Who runs the DOJ? Who runs the FBI? Huh? Is it Kash Patel? Who's running the show? Is it Todd Blanche? They don't. What, am I stupid? What, am I blind over here? I got my blindfold on? I'm not sleeping. I sleepwalk, baby. I don't know what that means, but I'm not sleeping over here. Executive expansion? Hell yeah, Project 2025. Oh, they are fulfilling all of their promises. This is very real. Civil service overhaul, reclassifying thousands of federal civil servants and political appointees to install ideological loyalists. What? Taking thousands of people out of control, out of their posts, and putting in loyalists that will follow Project 2025, that will follow our rule of law. Immigration and border security, implementing mass deportations utilizing active duty military for domestic immigration enforcement, and drastically restricting visas. Ding, 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 ding. What? Project 2025, this is what we voted for. They warned us. Who's they? Not the Democrats. Whoever. This came out in the campaign. They warned us this would happen. They warned us that they would conduct mass deportations, that they would send the National Guard left and right, that they would take full exploitative control of our country. That is what Donald Trump is doing. He's cutting through all the red tape. I do what I want, he says. I don't like you, tariff. You giving me problems over here in the country? Department of Justice, go get them. You don't want to vote for my policy? Representative in Texas? Hey, you run against him. I don't agree with this guy. He's shit. He wins. Oh man, did they have a playbook? Project 2025 was a great playbook. And it's in full swing, baby. Now we want to get to one aspect of Project 2025 that is super interesting. Super. Oh yeah. We're going to zoom out for a second. Because this is Steve Bannon, right? Famous conservative, right-wing, Republican political strategist, pundit, and former investment banker. He served as the White House's chief strategist for the first 7 months of President Donald Trump's first term. And then Trump fired him. This came after frequent clashes with other top aides. But let's get to a very important point here, because Steve Bannon famously described a strategy years ago that became known as flooding the zone. Flooding the zone, baby. Flood that zone. Now, what's flooding the zone? What does it sound? The idea is simple. Move so fast that nobody can focus on any one thing long enough to stop it. 1 week, the debate is immigration. Then it's intelligence appointments. Then it's tariffs, universities, federal spending, executive authority, lawsuit, another lawsuit, executive order, another executive order, personnel change. By the time people finish arguing about one issue, they're on to the next. Several new ones have arrived. Flooding the zone. Now, some people will argue that voters elected an administration to act, not sit around studying problems for years. So they want the White House wielding and dealing. Yeah, they want them creating policy left and right. They want them to be action oriented. They want them to be active in the government. But here's a primary question, if you will. How many major policy fights can voters realistically follow at the same time? Is it our responsibility? Maybe I don't have to pay attention to that. I certainly don't have the brain capacity to keep up with it all. Every single day, it's a new headline. At least under President Obama or Biden, it was a little bit more stable. Of course, there's something always to report on. That's why I have the Shoy Show. But this is controlled chaos. And it's so chaotic that you can't concentrate on any one thing. Enter Steve Bannon.
That lead us to the days of thunder. That lead us to flood the zone. Flood the zone was my idea. If you go back and look at the PBS thing, I'm sitting there going, yeah, we're going to flood the zone. We have like 2 or 3 things every day, right? As a misdirection play. Hell, we got 12 or 15 every day now. That comes from this room. That comes from 4 years of thought. And hey, these EOs are tightly written and really thought through with the pay letters and Jeff Clark's. You have heavy legal analysis tied to what we're doing. That's why the only place they can chop block us is in federal court with these radical Marxist judges.
So the only way we can challenge what the Trump administration is doing, or any administration for that fact, or anyone following Project 2025, is through court orders. But you ignore them anyway. So what the hell are we supposed to do? Flooding the zone. This is strategy. It's part of their written strategy. They believe in this. If you distract people for long enough, they don't have the capacity. Come on, y'all. And am I blaming the audience? Am I blaming myself? Hell no, man. I got a life. I work a full-time job. After I finish, I got to do the Shoy Show. I got to go to the gym. I got to cook something. Everyone has their responsibilities. Everyone's just trying to live their life. That's why we elect our representatives, because they're supposed to act on our behalf. They're supposed to create laws to make our society, hopefully the globe, a better place. Of course, we don't trust them. We know that there's corruption that's rampant and prevalent in all corners of the world, much less our government. But what happens when this is actually the game plan? The entire thing is a decoy. They don't want us paying attention to anything, because if you pay attention to it, maybe you'll start asking questions. Maybe you'll start revolting. Look at what they just did to our late night show hosts. They censured all of them, and then they ultimately censored all of them. There's so much that they can't say. These people don't like freedom of speech. They do not like being challenged. And one of their tactics is written in Project 2025, and it comes by way of this man, Steve Bannon. We are going to flood the zone. We are going to put out so many topics that you can't possibly keep up. You're arguing about one thing at dinner, you're arguing about another when you step out with a friend. Thanksgiving is a clusterfuck. But what else are they doing here? Are they not churning us against one another? Maybe that's one of the negative consequences that hasn't actually been thought out so well. I mean, there are literally people that cannot be together because one's a Republican and one's a Democrat. Whatever the hell that means. I don't give a shit about your title, your political leaning. It means nothing to me. Let's vote on policy. We should be voting directly on policy, in my opinion, but that's besides the point. But how does that make you feel? It's a genuine question for the audience. How does it make you feel that the government literally has this as their strategy for dealing with public opinion? This is their PR campaign. Flood the zone. Put out as much information as possible so that no one can keep up with it. It's genius. Oh, shit, man. I am not one of those people, right? I am like, as far as like, I may disagree with almost everything Trump does. I agree. I disagree with, I would say, 85% of his policy. However, I will not call that man a fool. He is not a fool. He is a genius. He is a marketing genius. And he is absolutely intelligent. I'm not going to sit here and say, and that's not, me throwing him praise or anything. It is recognizing the individual that we have in office. This is as strategic as it gets. Now, what bar does this set? What do you think is going to happen to the rest of the world? You don't see the rest of these nationalist movements around the world. You don't think all of the other leaders in the world are following suit? Yeah, let's just flood the zone. Let's confuse the hell out of a republic so they don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on anyway, but let's put out a bunch of information because two things will occur. First, they'll think that since we're active, we're doing a lot. We're working on behalf of all Americans or our constituents. Second, they'll have no idea what's going on. We're geniuses. How smart are we? I mean, how many lawsuits can courts realistically review at the same time? Flood the courts. How many investigations can journalists realistically pursue at the same time? Flood the journalists. Have them eat it by the mouthful. Drinking through the fire hose, they say. How many actions or policies or executive orders can Congress realistically oversee at the same time? They can't. This is political gridlock. Have everybody dazed and confused while you go in for the kill. That's what our government is doing, because what I see is three branches of power, and two of them have been diluted so much to the point where it's not even worth mentioning them anymore. The judicial and legislative branches essentially have no standing power in Trump's government. The executive branch has all of the control. And yes, we should be flustered by that idea because that is a dictatorship. It is an authoritarian regime. It's whatever Trump says goes. Now, there is a school of thought out there, and around the world, they recognize this as well. I've actually had conversations with people while I've traveled, and they said, you know what America's problem is? People have told me this. It takes 20 guys to change a light bulb in your country. That's the problem. It takes 20 guys to change a light bulb. If you guys want to get a law enacted, it has to go to the House of Representatives. Then the House, they vote on it. They argue about it for months. It may stay on the docket for years. They may never vote on it. It may just be an idea. Then it has to go to Senate, has to clear that hurdle. You got to curry favor on both sides, earmark this money for this person, do this for that person. Finally, you pass it. That may take years as well. Then it goes to the executive branch. You still got to get the president to sign it. And then on top of all of that, you're going to have courts all around the country challenging the legality of those laws, including the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court. So the school of thought, with some people around the world, there are many people that believe this. They say that Americans get in their own way. It's like we have so much innovation and pioneering and technological advances, but we get in our own way. That's one of the reasons why they aren't regulating artificial intelligence so heavily today. It's kind of like we step on our own feet or step on our own shoelaces because we create so much red tape, so much bureaucracy that we can't run. We force ourselves to walk. But maybe that's a good thing. That's why we have checks and balances, right? I don't think, look, let's get rid of the semantics for a second. I don't think anyone likes political gridlock. We don't like when we see inertia or inaction in our government. I don't think anyone does. However, we do want laws that make sense for this country. We want people to be treated fairly. We want equity and equality for all people. And I can understand if you're aligned with that idea that we have too much red tape in this country, you probably love President Trump. Because you're like, man, I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired that I got a freaking, who's going to call their senator? Who's going to call their House of Representatives? Who's going to call their state senator? No one's going to do that, guys. Like, we know this. No one is doing that because we have lives to live. That's why every year we just go cast a vote if we do. Most of us vote in the presidential elections, not the local ones, but the participation rate is extremely low in this country. And if you think that our government gets in the way of many things, the permitting, the licensing, the regulations, if they get in the way of our progress, then yeah, you would definitely be in Donald Trump's camp. Yeah, right. Write an executive order. Don't create a law. Create a law later. Look at what he did with tariffs last year. He enacted the tariffs. He got his way for many months. The Supreme Court finally challenged and overruled him. So maybe the judicial branch actually does have some weight and does have some power. But who's going to enforce these rules? We just heard that Mark Wayne Mullen said that he wouldn't follow court orders. And many of these appointees, these politicians, will not, because they see that there are no repercussions, because we aren't holding each other accountable, because we are not following the rules. The rules of the system in which govern us, we are not following. That's why people can reject court orders. I understand we're going in a circle here, right? Maybe a little tough to follow. But again, the school of thought that we want less policy, less regulation, less big government, less invasiveness, that makes sense. Okay, I can agree with you on that. That's cool. Whether I agree or disagree, if that's what you want, that's fine. That's probably why you're in Trump's camp. But you have to juxtapose that, or at least balance it, checks and balances, with the idea that the laws, yes, they may be created and conducted in a way that's rather slow, but isn't it better to think the process through to make sure that we understand who it's going to affect, how many people it's going to affect, what the ramifications are? Or should we just be gung-ho about policy? And we do that a lot in technology. I'm an IT project manager, and it doesn't mean I know anything, right? But it's some people, we have many expressions in our area: fail fast, shoot first, ask questions later, progress over perfection. We use all of these terms, right? We work in an agile world. All of the applications that you use on your phone and your laptop, that's how we make progress, right? Just make progress. You don't want to have an outage or server errors. You don't want to have your app go dark, but you want to be quick with the progress that you make on your products and your applications. I can understand that the government wants to move fast on things. But what happened to the whole system and structure that we had in place to make sure that people followed the rules to ensure equity and equality in our country? Our attention is already limited. Project 2025, flood the zone so that you're distracted over here and we're just creating laws and executive orders and doing whatever the hell we want over here. We do not have infinite bandwidth, and they are taking advantage of that. On top of that, the government says and does what it pleases. So then what's the truth here? And if you've read the book 1984, you know that whatever the government says is law. Whatever the government says is the truth. So then, do these institutions matter or do they not? I don't know. I'm seeing politicians and appointees. I'm seeing cabinet positions have no regard for the law, complete neglect for it at that. Your whole purpose, you are literally telling me that your campaign revolves around distracting us so that you can get away with virtually anything. First, we're going to launch Doge. Hey, you guys are going to get $2,000 rebate checks. No, you're not. We're going to give you $1776 to veterans. That's nice. Okay. We were going to pay no income taxes because tariffs would pay for everything. Electric bills would be cut in half. Gas will be under $2 a gallon. Eggs will go down. The prices of groceries were going way down. Hey, we were going to release the Epstein files. Hey, let's attack Venezuela. Let's go blockade Cuba. Hey, we have to attack Iran. Now, I understand that the government has a lot of moving parts. It's not like you want us to have or be some sleepy juggernaut. But here's the reality of the equation. Yes, there is a lot of activity in our government, and they look like they are doing the most that they can. It looks like the president is constantly being praised for his work ethic because he only sleeps roughly 3 to 4 hours a day. He's always working. He's always in the face of a camera. And people like that, right? How engaged is this president? That's good. But then you realize that, hey, this was actually part of their entire agenda. I mean, this was a critical lever that they had to pull. Without this, they probably wouldn't have gotten away with anything. Flooding the zone, it's a genius idea. But that's why journalism matters. And you might think we have a ton of media outlets, and we do, but all of them matter. This is why congressional oversight matters. This is why the Senate hearings on Capitol Hill matter. And this is why courts matter, because they're supposed to be there to challenge them, to uphold those checks and balances, whether they like it or not, because they are completely manipulating and exploiting the system. Project 2025 was built around the idea that conservatives should arrive prepared with personnel, policies, executive actions, and legal strategies ready to go immediately. And that's what he did the moment he took office in his second term. The question is whether moving quickly produces better government or simply overwhelms the system designed to provide oversight. Because speed itself can become a form of power. And we are seeing that acted out and develop right before our eyes. This is the Trump administration at their finest. We need to recognize the tools and techniques. And in this particular case, a specific technique, which is called flooding the zone, distracting us to the point where we can't possibly see, interpret, or understand what they're actually doing with the country. Thank you for watching.